Hello and welcome to the Luther Burden film breakdown. Excited to go over this very interesting receiver with a very distinct skill set here. This breakdown, he's not a super hard guy to evaluate because his skills and strengths and weaknesses are so distinct, but that doesn't mean that it makes any easier to figure out how good of a pro he's going to be. So let's not waste too much time. Let's get into the profile of Luther Burden. I'll touch on his stats real quick. This is from a few weeks ago. I was projecting him to go mid first round here. In reality, I'm now expecting more like a late first round, maybe even falling into the second. We'll see about that, but there have been some rumors there. Slot playmaker is clearly his skill set. I think that's the obvious thing about him that we can say is that he's a massive playmaker from the slot. He's the type of guy who's going to get a lot of manufactured targets, which is something that I've actually been a little bit concerned about with Luther Burden's game. It's definitely a potential weakness is his dependence on manufactured targets, which of course we will see more of in the film preview. Getting into his stats grade, they are very good. 95th percentile, as you can see here. A lot of that is due to a very good freshman season here. Getting, 400 yards. It doesn't sound like a lot, but on a Missouri team in the SEC at that time, that was his age 18 season 3 years ago. 26% dominator rating there. Some of these numbers aren't that great, but again, for a freshman, that's really good numbers. And then the sophomore year is the big one here, obviously, where we're seeing he's got elite numbers, 1,200 yards, over 100 targets as a sophomore, 3.3 yards per route run right here is just a massive figure there as a sophomore. Took a really different route in his junior year, where his average depth of target increased a little bit, still stayed very low. The slot rate is staying in this low mid 80s range, but the missed tackles forced went up a ton. The contested target rate went down a ton. We were looking at a player who was just really being used in the incredibly short game. It's really interesting to see actually that his missed tackles forced is going up from 17 to 38, but his YAC per reception is actually going down there. So what that means is that he's forcing more missed tackles, but it's not actually leading to more yards after catch, which means he's just doing it in much smaller spaces, right? It's not like he's catching a 20-yard crosser and running it 70 yards. Instead, he's catching a negative 1 A dot screen pass, making two guys miss and picking up only 5 there. That's kind of the difference that we're seeing there. I'll get into his strengths and weaknesses, obviously, with the video. I do want to point out, just ahead of that the concern with the manufactured targets is real. First of all, before we get into that, let's just talk about 50% slot rate and less than 9.5 A dot. These receivers are terrible, right? Corley, JSN Downs, Tucker, Wandale Jones, Rondale, Tony, Rogers, Paris Campbell, Jalen Hurd, Christian Kirk. Out of those guys, the only hits that we have are JSN and Christian Kirk. Josh Downs, you could call a hit, but kind of TBD there. The point is, we have some of the biggest whiffs in fantasy in this range, guys who have never done anything at the NFL level. Not only that, but you consider the fact that 85% of Luther Burden's routes are from the slot. He only has 14% of his targets between 10 to 19 yards, and 22% of his targets were on screens. This pretty elite 28% targets per route run goes down to below 23 targets per route run, which is below the prospect average if you take away his manufactured targets, his passes, his screen passes. So what we have there is a player who is incredibly dependent on these manufactured targets. He's obviously very good at them. These are very strong numbers. And he's also pretty dependent on slot fades, which is increasing his number here, this A dot, which 9.1 is obviously low. It's even lower without those slot fades. And as we know with the hash marks in the NFL, slot fades are harder. So not to spend too much time on the stats page, but it is very interesting for Luther Burden. I will touch quickly on the stylistic comparisons. Corley and Tony are kind of the oh shit stylistic comparisons. DJ Moore is obviously the upside. That's the ceiling there. We got a guy who can break tackles, a guy who's very explosive, very physical, right? This 208. He's a really strong receiver, very compact. And then Rashee Rice, another example of that. where if you are in the right scheme, where you're kind of being that zone beater over the middle, catching those, 4 to 6 yard curl routes essentially in between linebackers in the zone, little slants, little digs, some bubbles, screens, stuff like that, getting yards after catch, that's how he can be effective. All right, without further ado, let's get into some of this film. We're going to start off here with the number one strength of his game, which is his playmaking and YAC ability. All right, so to start here, we got Burden lined up right in this, right in this near slot. See, that's what I'm talking about, that little sit in the zone. You can see that right there. And then look at this tackle breaking after the catch. That's elite stuff. Let's go back here. So this is what I was talking about, where he's going to be the type of receiver who excels just coming out right here. And look, there's 1, 2, 3 receivers here, and even though this linebacker is going to drop in, this cornerback's going to sit here right in the flat, because this safety's so far back. Actually, we saw this linebacker blitz in, right? This linebacker had to blitz in. This linebacker had to rotate out. He's not going to be able to get to Burden quickly enough. So all Burden has to do is sit. And look, when he catches it, his head is already up, looking at 26. They're at a kind of weird angle, right? Like sideways to each other, running at each other. Burden's going to make this guy miss 99 times out of 100. Accelerates upfield, the burst, and then look at this. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 defenders right around, 4 directly making a circle around him. Doesn't matter. This is running back type stuff. Look at that juke. That juke is insane. Covers a ton of ground laterally, gets upfield, going to absorb a hit here. There's that contact balance and strength. This is the Kadarius Toney type stuff, Rashee Rice doing this after the catch. We'll see it at full speed from the other angle, just so you can see how explosive he is. Boop! And he's gone, upfield. All right, next play here. Once again, I believe, let's move forward a little bit. I think that's Burden right there in the slot again. Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of a similar play. It's a better route this time, but it's similar in terms of he's going to just find that hole in the shallow zone, right? So he's just going to come up here, curl around this linebacker here. Does actually a pretty good job, right? You can see his path is pushed out this way as this linebacker is attempting to shove him out past 5 yards, but that's okay. Burden does a good job curving out around here, not being impacted by the physicality, curling in, right? And you see one is already worried, okay, I passed him off, because if we take back a look back, that linebacker, this linebacker here, is responsible for essentially this whole area, right? Because we have this cornerback dropping, and we have this safety that's going to drop up in here. So what Burden needs to do is he needs to sell this linebacker, okay, I am past you, and I am inside of you, which means I'm now the responsibility of this safety. And once that happens, because this corner is dropping, it's the linebacker's job to cover this deep out, curl, comeback, whatever he's running there. So let me clear up the screen, run it through. Let's go half speed. So you see this angle that he takes and the way that he's accelerating. This linebacker is going to say, all right, he's going to go right by me. He's probably running either a corner, maybe running a go route, a post, maybe even a corner. Doesn't matter. He's by me. This safety is going to deal with him. Meanwhile, I'm going to look out here. Uh-oh. This guy's running a curl route. I got to go cover him. Meanwhile, Burden sold that deep route. It's a really good breakdown. It's a strong right foot right here. Cut in and settles really nicely. Makes a wide open spot for the quarterback to throw into. Once he makes the catch, now the defense is in trouble. First guy miss, good stiff arm, and get good yards. So it's a really nice route there. It's a good sit, and then just making the first guy miss. This is the type of stuff that's all over his tape. Really good against zone defense. Now we got Burden lined up inside of this little trips formation at the bottom of the screen. This time it's using the speed a little bit. It's this crosser route all the way across the field. And that's just an excellent job absorbing the contact as he makes the catch. Really good stuff there. Let's pause this, go a little bit back. So you can see. So one thing that I actually have an issue with here is that Burden takes this route really high. There's no reason to do that. If you look at where this safety is, he's all the way up the field. This linebacker is sitting really shallow for this shallow dig. So the only guy who can be covering Burden right now is this safety coming up, or this linebacker dropping, right, and shifting this way. So Burden has this whole lane. Let me delete this. Let's make this in blue. Burden has this whole lane right here that he can run into. And there's no way for this defender to drop back into it, or for this defender to sink and get to it. Instead, and it's tough because the camera angle changes, but that line is essentially from the 48-yard line all the way up to this 48 all the way up to maybe the 53, right? Instead, because Burden drifts a little bit upfield, and part of this is the throw, right? The throw's already been made, but Burden's already been drifting. Like this isn't just the throw. You can see if we go back right here, once Burden gets by 14, he should be able to identify and say, okay, I'm past this guy, I need to flatten out my route, get shallow, and attack this 50-yard line, essentially. And look, he hasn't thrown the ball yet. We haven't seen Cook throw the ball yet. Instead, because Burton floats upwards a little bit, the throw leads him upwards and leads him into contact. Now it's okay, because Burton makes an awesome catch. We'll see even better from the other angle. Extended arms, taking the contact's really nice, and then picks up another 20 after the catch, because that's just what he does. Slow this down a little bit so you can really see it. Basket catch, gets popped, breaks the tackle, and keeps going. All right, once again, Bird in the slot, get very used to that. Let's go full speed. Again, it's that little slot sit and the spin out, and that's where he's the best. It's the little zone sit. This time, it looked like, was it a man, or is there just no coverage over the middle? Weird coverage on this play. Let's take a look. Yeah, so it looks like a little bit with it's a mix of it's like a matchup zone here, right? It's definitely still a zone, but you can see that this corner stepped up on the secondary receiver here, so the safety has to come all the way up into the slot. This safety backer, it looks like, is hanging off, trying to help here on this coverage. We got nothing here. So it's really easy for Burton to just sit there, and then it's the after the catch playmaking. That's really elite. Right? Catch it over his left shoulder, spins over the right shoulder, splits two defenders, breaking a tackle, and picks up an extra 6. All right, once again, Burton here, up here in the slot. This looks like man, right? You got two guys out here. Looks like this corner for here. They're bringing pressure. At least it looks like it's 7 up front with a solo safety up top. Let's see what shakes out here. And this is the out and the spin. It's the same move as the last one after the catch with the spin. Really good job finishing it off that time. Let's see if we can look at the route a little bit here, because it's the first real one he's actually had to run. It's going half speed. So it's nice right off the bat, right? He started right on this hash, and you can see he's already drifting inside a little bit, which is good to set up this defender, because he's already gotten outside leverage, right? Where he starts, he's right on the hashes, the defender's a little bit outside the hashes, he's got outside leverage. But if he continues to approach this defender's right foot, or really, really it's the left foot, it doesn't really matter, kind of just the center of his body, while still maintaining that outside leverage, you'll see that the outbreak is pretty easy. One hard foot, obviously it's a good screen, really helps. Clean catch, and then really quickly, right? He's just stopping and turning so much faster. The footwork is so much better than this, looks like BC defender. And in the open field, he's going to break, he's going to cut, break this tackle, break through this arm tackle, get by that guy. All three, they've got no chance. Really quick footwork to spin. Let's watch that one more time, actually, from this angle. There's absolutely no wasted motion on this spin. Oftentimes there'd be like a foot slip here or something, an extra step. He catches it. This is his left foot. Right foot down, left foot down, and he's gone. Look how the defender, how many steps he has to take and how far he drifts down the field before he's able to do it. Just much better change of direction from Burden than his defender. And I know it's BC, but he does this against a lot of defenders. BC wasn't that bad last year, actually. All right, lining up in the backfield here, some creative usage to see. I expect, hopefully, him to be used in some creative ways in the NFL. Again, DJ Moore is a guy that we've seen, even like a Deebo Samuel. I know everyone hates that comp, but you see a little bit of that in Burton's game. Simple flat route after the catch. You can't let him do this. It's unfortunate he didn't break it there, but still. Right, he's on the sideline. You got to use your sideline as your friend. If you're Jackson here, you have support behind you, and particularly if you're 28 here, you got to break down up here, force him up the sideline. Jackson has the sideline covered. He can force him out of bounds. You got help coming this way. What you can't do is overcommit to the sideline and let him get middle. He actually does it pretty easily here. Right, that little change of direction. One more. This is what we see all over Burden's tape. Look at this. Completely slipping. Completely slipping. This is what we see all over Burden's tape, is just defenders falling on the floor. And he can't quite run away from the guy, but still a great play after the catch. So that's obviously Burden's main strength, is that yards after catch ability. What separates him from a guy like Kadarius Toney or Malachi Corley or whoever, and what makes him more of a ideally DJ Moore, if everything goes well, are these ball skills. He has the ability to attack the ball in contested catches. He's very good ball control. He's got strong hands, honestly better hands when they're contested than when he's on the run against the grain and open field. But this is where he excels at things like slot fades, which we'll see a few of here. All right, lined up in the slot against some press coverage here. Gives him an opportunity, hopefully, to get deep. Let's see. Yep, there's a slot fade. Good release off the line. That's just right in the bucket. That's almost a better release than it is ball skills here. Because what I really like about that, let's slow this down. Watch this release. It's really just one hard jab, and then, the defender was not aggressive enough getting into him, right? He's got his arm up here. Burden is not actually using his arm at all. Just runs right by him, right? Just gets leverage, runs right by him, stacks him pretty well, right? He's holding off this leverage here. That's what that stack is. Extending, right? This is actually pretty good separation for a slot fade. It's hard to see from this angle. And it's a good ball, actually, from Cook. Not a whole lot of that, but a good ball that time. Right in the bucket. Breaks a tackle just for the hell of it. Let's see it from this angle. Right, this is the ball tracking over the shoulder, looking back. You can see here, this is pretty damn good separation for this route. And then it's that late hold off with his right arm that makes this such a great play. As the ball's coming in, right? He knows it's short. This ball is falling in his basket like here, right? It's not up here where he's going to make a jumping, diving catch. It's falling in the basket. So there's a concern that the defender can reach out his arms and knock it out. So what Burden does is he extends his right arm right there. It's not pass interference. It's not enough. I mean, first of all, the defender doesn't even have his head turned. But it's not pass interference. It's just enough to keep him out. And he makes it a one-handed basket catch. That is an insane play. You really got to go slow to see it. But right arm out, left hand, one arm, basket catch, shoves off the guy and scores. That is a hell of a play. All right, next one here. Burden not paying attention, lined up in the slot on the snap. Whoo, that's a really nice one. It's a tough throw. This isn't even Cook, right? It's a tough throw trying to fit that in that area of the zone, right? There's barely any space. Burden has to slow down because the ball is underthrown, right? He's running all the way up here this way. The ball is underthrown. He's got to spin, worry about this defender, and worry about keeping his feet in. And we'll see how he does it. Oh, just by snatching it out of the air. So the ball is actually outside. The ball is basically out of bounds. Let's slow it down a little bit. That didn't work. So the ball is basically out of bounds, and he is pirouetting so his feet stay in bounds, and he snatches it with his hands away from the defender. These are the really strong hands, the confidence to be able to ball track this and just snatch that away from the defender and land with both feet in bounds. That's awesome. All right, next play here. Lined up at the front of this stack. Once again, a little deep out kind of corner route here because he was at the front of the stack against like kind of a little bit of an aggressive defense, right? He's not really going to be able to come up and make this sharp stem. Because he has inside leverage, he says, you know what? I'll just take the inside leverage. I trust in my strength and athleticism to go inside, get on top, and then use that to get on top outside here. So he does just that. Again, you can see him using his arm at the stem pretty well right there. It's that physicality that is probably might be the best part of his route running, honestly. And once again, makes a really difficult catch. It looks like, we'll see from the other angle, looks like this defender might get his hand on the ball right there, but Burden's still able to bring it in and come away with it, by the way. Good play by the quarterback, putting it even catchable while getting absolutely destroyed. But let's see in slow-mo what Burden does here. Yeah, defender's arm is right in there. Whether or not he touches it, it's kind of hard to see, but certainly getting in his vision. Safe catch. Brings it down. Next play. Pretty sure we know what's coming here. This is a slot fade. Oh, that's so nice. Let's look at the route first. It's another good job on the release. It's another good job on the release. He's got a lot of separation here. He's got about 6 yards of cushion before the defender. Makes his move, his stem, about 3 yards away from the defender with plenty of space, right? Makes it so the defender tries to get his arms on him and completely whiffs. So Burden is in total control of this route, enough so that Cook is already thrown the ball when Burden's made his break. The unfortunate thing is it allows this defender to sag off his curl route on the outside and actually sink and almost make an awesome play on the ball. But it's a good throw, and it's a good catch by Burden. Arms fully extended, diving catch. We'll see in slow-mo just how good it is. So nice. Getting his hands under that, arms fully extended. You can see how strong his hands are in a play like that. All right, now we got Burden lined up here in the backfield, coming out in motion this way. Right, lots of manufactured touches. This is in the ball skills. He ends up making a good play after this catch. But because of that catch, when you're getting a lot of manufactured touches, you need to be elite at those like really quick bullet catches and being able to adjust really quickly. And look at how you can not even really see from that angle. But this is a really hard catch behind him against the grain of his body, forces him to do a complete spin, and then it's just him creating something out of nothing after the catch, like he can do. All right, so next we'll talk about his route running. These are going to be, by strength here, I mean these are going to be his better plays in route running. I wouldn't call it a strength necessarily, but he shows flashes, especially over onslaught fades, as I've shown you, as well as some of those intermediate routes where he's able to make kind of like stacked slants or 10-yard digs where he's really able to use his body to get into the defender at the stem to create separation. Once again, in the slot. Oh, that was nice. There are two aspects to this one, right? This is kind of a stacked route as well. All right, so he's going to come up here, throw, come up here, throw a little wiggle, push up a little more, and then hit the out. Now the defender falls, and we don't want to overreact to the defender making a terrible play, but you can see just how deceptive this is in the slow-mo. Comes off the line, that one little leg outside, right? What that does, that little leg that he threw, gets the defender on his back foot and gets Burden to have outside leverage, which he really needs in order to do. But he's not going to immediately cut out, right? Because then the defender has a pretty easy path, right? The defender already knows that he just cut off his right foot and he's going left. Instead, Burden continues to cut upfield, and now you're like, oh shit, right? We've seen him right here. This will remind you of the second play actually, where we saw Burden come in here and sit in this zone, right? Or against man coverage, he would come in here and keep going a dig. At this point, he can keep going up here and hit the seam. Or he can do what he does here and hit the out. So he's got a three-way go, and the defender completely on his heels, at his mercy, hits it with a hard right foot. The defender goes flying, and this is what you call separation. Lined up just off the line here up top. See Burden come off the line. He's going to approach this defender at speed. Ooh, almost makes the catch. Now this route, it's not great. I don't even really know what he's trying to do here. This might be more bad defense than good offense. Let me take another look at this slowly. So he's coming up, right? It's going to be one-on-one with this safety now. Oh yeah, that's what he does. It's the fake at max speed. That's really the impressive part about this. You almost have to watch it fast. It's the last step right before he hits this defender is an elongated step. It's going to be more like at the 20, but it's an elongated step a little bit to the right. So he's going to take that elongated step to the right and then that hard right foot up here. And all that does is it opens up this defender's hips, makes him stutter and open up his hips a little bit this way. That then it would actually be his hips would be like this. So then he has to flip a little bit to get here, and it allows Burden to get on the other side of him. Let's take a look. That, right, it's that one right there. Sorry, I thought that was going to be slow-mo. Right, so he was coming in this way. Now he's angling a little bit out that way, and now this big step, and then he's able to push inside, use some physicality, and really just leave the defender a little bit helpless. Not the best defense, though, I gotta say. And not able to come down with a difficult catch on what's really an overthrow. I don't know how you get your feet down there. Once again, in the slot, I think we're going to see a fade here. I don't really know. Creates a ton of separation. It isn't the best defense. I mean, it's a good job, again, coming up to a guy with the three-way go, right? He does this jump stop where both of his feet, you'll notice, right as he approaches the defender, both of his feet hit the ground at almost the same time, right? Which, basketball is a jump stop. Here, right there, right? Both of his feet, that was a little bit late. Right there, right? And he's got the option of the two-way go. Again, uses his arm well to get off that defender, create a lot of separation, and it's a good throw right in the bucket again. All right, up here in the slot again, as always. I like this one because it's layered. It's one of the few times he actually uses really good tempo. Let's watch this at full speed because he's approaching this defender, and he really comes in this way, attacks the middle of the field, slow playing it a little bit, and then just bursts outside. And that little hesitation really sucks in the defender, right? That little hesitation there sucks the defender in, forces him to cover down the field, down the middle, and then of course he's going to break tackles after it. So that's really good pacing to his game. When he's able to be patient and really use some of his football IQ, which is questionable at times, he can create a lot of separation just with his physical tools, right? The same way a guy like DJ Moore would with his change of speed, the decel, accel, and then the strength, both at the catch point and just at the point where you meet the defender, right, with that hand. All right, lined up outside for once. Simple drag route. What I like here is that zone adjustment. And that's the football IQ I'm talking about. The catch is obviously incredible, right? It's ruled not a catch. I wish it were one. Unfortunately, it's not. But what's more impressive here is the zone adjust. And on the scramble drill, right, he's just running a simple drag. It's a matchup zone, right? So he's already getting passed off. He's open, but not really, right? He's coming this way. The defender would meet him. So what he does is he sees this and immediately, right, scramble drove rules up and to the side. Immediately he changes speed and he's open. Now it's a great play by the defender, almost a better play by Burden, but just a good understanding of spacing going up the field. All right, we'll see him in motion coming out this way. Fender really had no hope there. Certainly helps starting in motion, but this little out and up is really nice. Because he's starting in motion, it really makes sense that he would be running this out. A lot of teams do this. They're just going to run this out to the flat. And he would pretty much be open here. He does a good job fully flattening, right, rather than drifting up here. Because then the defender doesn't have to crash that hard because he can just kind of float this way and know that he can step in front if the ball goes there. But by really taking, right, motion up and then the sharp out, turning his head, looking back for the football, the defender says, okay, if the ball comes, it's going to come right here. And he's closer to there than I am, so I got to crash hard if I'm going to either step in front, get my left hand in there and knock it down, or make the tackle. So he's got to crash hard, and as soon as he does, the timing on this double move is really good. Flips the hips way faster than the defender can. Flailing arms, easy touchdown. All right, another slot fade. This is all about the release again. This is a good example, by the way, of why the slot fade works in college and not in the pros. It's just because where the hashes are, right? Obviously, in the pros, you don't have the hashes at this distance, right? Hashes are way, way wider, so if you line up over here, there's not all of this room to get outside, right? You don't have all this space. Instead, you're going to be out here, not able to get up there. Regardless, slot fade is effective in college, and it can be effective in the pros. It certainly shows the release ability here, right? That hard jab. He's not even going to let the defender like think about getting his hands on him. It's just that hard left foot and then the explosion, right? This is where the athleticism comes in. And then he's going to stack. Not even really have to stack. It's just a good throw, and that's just pace. It's just pace to get out there. Wasn't a good throw. Sorry, it was an overthrow. But speed to create separation. I think he ran a 4.49, something like that. Maybe a 4.46. Definitely plays in the low 4.4s. Another nice simple out. This one's a really good catch as well, which is nice to see. We know he's got those ball skills. But again, from the slot, you just have, starting on this hash, you just have so much room to work the out in college, right? If you get a little clear out route from that receiver, from the Y, right? But it's a nice hard dig, hard stem to get to that out. And it's the timing and really the bend on it. He actually gets low and gets a lot of explosion out of it, more so than he typically would. We'll slow it down a little bit. Right, so it's that hard fake, and then he's getting really good explosion out there, and it's a hard stem, right? Once again, he's not drifting upfield a little bit. He started that stem right at the, 37 and a half right here, and he's going to finish the route at the 39, right? So instead of it being like this, it's really like that. And that makes all the difference, right? Because now the defender isn't able to get in front right at the mesh point. Strong hands on the reception. All right, now I'll hit on some weaknesses. Was just showing you some good routes. That last one in particular, where he had that pretty sharp stem, good explosion out of it. He doesn't do that a whole lot. There are a lot of instances where he's kind of lazy. He's not reading leverage that well. It just doesn't seem like he's really sure what the plan is. He tips his routes. There are a lot of examples of that. I'm only including a few here. But his overall route running, other than slot fades, I'd say it's average at best. His physical tools are well above average, so with some good coaching, he can get there because he does show the flashes, but he needs to improve at that consistency, and landing spot is going to be incredibly important for a guy like this. So here he's once again getting the advantage of the motion, right? He started out here, going to motion inside, and now he's got inside leverage, right? He can come up and utilize that inside or utilize the threat of the inside to get back outside. Defender really is at your mercy when you start with that advantage. He tries the hesitation, it's just not going to do that much, right? This is where the lack of the plan comes in, right? Because this hesitation, what you have to be worried about is that he's going to hesitate, he's going to throw this little hesitation, and then he's going to break outside, right? But because if he throws this hesitation and breaks inside, that's fine. Your hip's already facing this way, right? And you have 3 yards off of him to recover, not to mention you have these guys. So what Burden should be doing here is he should really be doing what he did in some of those previous routes and try to press up the field more. Don't hesitate. Try to see if you can get on top of him and then cut out. Instead, because he's doing this little hesitation, defender easily has him in his grasps. He then tries to burst out of it, but he's easy to cover, right? He's got the help over the top. He's got the help here, and he never threatened him enough across the field to make the defender overcommit this way. It was always clear that Burden was going up the field, and it just makes him an easy cover, right? There's no space to get that ball. This next one, second in the stack here, again, pretty advantageous position because you have this first guy coming out, ideally setting some type of screen or at least playing with the mind of that first defender. And it's just too easy once again. It's the tell, right? So this is going to be kind of another level where it's going to be out, up, and then in, right? A little bit of a stack there, a little bit of a stagger, trying to create that separation. But again, in order to create that three-way go that we were talking about earlier, right? The goal here is when you go out this way, you need to sell this enough that this defender steps outside to give you inside leverage. So then when you go up, your body is on the inside of him, and when you go in, he's trailing you, and you could use just your pure explosiveness to get across the middle of the field. And at the same time, you give yourself that three-way out I was talking about, where you do that jump stop right here, and if the defender's on the outside of you, you can either threaten outside, probably not going to do a lot. How you'd really threaten outside is by going up the field and here, right? Like he's done a lot. Or if he's on the outside of you, you cut in, right? That's the three-way go that we're going for. But he never really gets in that position, right? Let's go slow. Instead, he never threatens outside, right? Look at him when he's taking this angle. He's moving this way, but it's so clear he's going up the field, right? He never actually does that hard left foot to sell outside. Now as he's going up the field, he doesn't do the jump stop where he gives himself a three-way go, and he never puts his right foot in the ground hard where it could be that he goes this way. All of the force in all of these steps is on his left foot. Now what he does do is he throws in this little, so let's watch this again, where all the real hard steps on his left foot, his right is almost being used as like a pivot. Right? So it's the left, left, and then right there, right? Now it's like, all right, he's going to throw this little hesitation move. But again, since it's also strong on the left, since he just had such a hard step right here, there's no way for him to put his right foot down hard enough to then burst outside. And because he put his left foot down so hard, it's clear that he has to cut inside. Because if he tries to go this way, he's going to tear his ACL. And if he tries to go straight, well, that's okay. He's still a yard and a half away, and Burden already stopped and lost all of his flow, right? He lost all of his speed. So that fake is just, I'll do it one more time at full speed just so you can see, the fake is totally unproductive and ineffective. And easily shadowed. This next play, Burden coming across the field. This is in the wrong place, clearly. Not a route running issue. Okay. This is probably going more towards that YAC thing. I have an issue with Burden where he is much better running after the catch than he is in some of these more like jet sweep, even screens. He's better catching the ball as a zone player like Rashee Rice in this area of the field, right? Running these routes or even running it deep out, catching it, and then spinning. Because what he wants to do is he wants to use the motion of the player against him, right? He needs to be, oh, I have a lead on you here, you're coming here, I catch, spin. On plays like this, where he has to actually just put his foot in the ground, make a move 1v1, he always seems to see contact, and he's just not that elusive. Like, you gotta throw a harder, right? If this guy's you're trying to make him overcompensate outside, overcommit, you gotta throw a harder right foot than that. That's never gonna cut it. Back to the route running, I don't want to hone in on it too much, but this is a similar play as the last one, where again, he's not giving himself that real hard jump stop to get outside. Instead, all of his hard steps, that fake just isn't going to cut it. His deception on these routes just isn't good enough. This fake with the left foot, it's just got no force behind it. Nothing to it, and no burst out of it as well. Oops. Here's another one that I had a problem with. So unlike the previous crosser where I showed you, where he was coming across the field and he went way too high. Now the reason why he went way too high and I thought he should cut it off was because on the previous play, Burden's route was more like this, and he had someone below him doing. Let me do it in the. He had someone below him doing a drag here. So what that meant is it put this defender into conflict where this defender had to chase the drag. And that means that Burden should be focused on getting into this area, right? He can keep it shallow because he's worried about this safety, because this defender is occupied. Now, however, because there is no drag, this blue route doesn't exist anymore, this defender is the real major problem because this one's dropping. So instead of coming straight across here, you got to recognize this guy sitting and you got to push up the field and give to the blue space and give your quarterback somewhere to throw. Instead, he's going to sink too far down here, and it allows both this defender to chase him, this defender to drop in, and instead of there being a whole space out here that he can sit in, the ball has to come down here. So just a little bit of that angling against the zone that he can improve at. That football IQ is far from perfect. If you missed it, we got Burden up here. Let me switch back to red. I was enjoying this red. Oh, doesn't seem to want to switch. Okay, blue it is. This is just a funny one. It's again just shows how when he cuts hard off one of his feet, he's not really changing direction that much. Like even, you remember the deep play I showed you before? It was going left to right where he was approaching a safety up here and kind of threw a little fake here and then went like that. That's kind of what he does. He's not making at top speed these hard fake cut. When he does those fake cuts, he has to completely slow down and hesitate and do a little stutter. When he's going full speed, he really doesn't change his angle that much. You can see here, he's going straight, little angle up with that step, and then like that. This is the angle that he's covering. That's just not that much of a change, right? You can't go from here up, you can't go here, 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 and expect to do anything. That's just not going to make any defender worried. You need to go here, here, and then here, right? That full 90-degree cut. And that's just what he's unable to do. All right, this is probably where the other play should have gone. This is not a weakness of his. I just noticed it a few times, him kind of running into traffic, not making people miss one-on-one. I won't focus on these too much. Oh, this is actually a slightly different one. And actually a concern that I'm glad I saw this because I need to pull this up. His catch radius isn't great. It's really good down the field. Over the middle, he does not love contact. This is a ball you got to lay out for. I don't know if he's that good of a competitor. He does not love contact on those types of plays. Lined up in the backfield here. Oh, sorry, down there. Again, just not that elusive after the catch, right? He's not going to make you miss. Let's go back to full speed for that. This is the previous one where he didn't lay out. This next one, though, it's just another example. He's not that great at putting his foot in the ground and making you miss. He really needs to use your flow. If you can break down and he can break down, try to make a move, he's probably going to win. And by he, I mean the defender in this case. But anyways, that is your Luther Burden film breakdown. We got a very interesting prospect here. Going to be interesting to see where he goes versus players like Emeka Buka, those types of guys. I'm expecting somewhere in the back half of round one, both in the NFL and your rookie drafts.